She has a narrative, and she's a very domineering woman. She controls everything. There's an appalling narcissism there, an appalling self-interest. It's self-love. That, especially for Meghan, everything is about self-love.
Yes.
Which it becomes sort of her survival instinct. Everything is about her.
He is having a breakdown in real time. We see it. He is completely unable to hide the totally complex feelings that come to the fore every time he is in public with them. In some ways, he does despise his wife. I mean, we saw that on the recent Middle Eastern tour when he was constantly rejecting her attempt at public displays of affection because he knows that what she's doing is like ownership. It's not about love. It's not about affection. It's about ownership, and it's about showing the world who is in control, and he can't stand.
Quick heads up. This one starts off calm but turns intense fast. If you're into real breakdowns like this, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. At first, the claim that Meghan had brainwashed Harry sounded like just another flashy rumor, the kind people scroll past without a second thought. Royal drama pops up all the time, and most of it disappears just as quickly as it shows up.
All the money gone, a few months later, in autumn 2025, the Sussexes faced a harsh reality. The foreign tours and the Invictus competition had been lucrative, yet they were fast running out of money. With high security costs, they needed every year at least $3 million after paying tax to survive.
Yeah, I think professionally they've gone down dramatically, and I predicted it in the book, but even I would not have thought it'd be that acceptable.
But this story didn't land like normal gossip at all. The way it was written felt less like casual talk and more like a serious breakdown, packed with details that felt sharp, layered, and honestly shocking. Then came the twist that made everything louder. Harry and Meghan's own reaction pushed the book straight to the top before it even officially dropped, and suddenly everyone was watching. The author didn't just throw out the word brainwashed and walk away, he backed it up with specific claims, the kind that stick in your head once you hear them. According to what was written, Harry started pulling away from people who had been in his life for years. Longtime friendships suddenly didn't matter anymore.
You know, Piers, you're the first person to say how limited Prince Harry is, unfortunately, and how his wife trades off her husband's fame and fortune, or not so great fortune now. I mean, this is the problem, but we're still interested because, after all, he's a great character in our modern.
People who were once close reportedly found themselves completely cut off. Then things escalated even more. It was said Harry changed his phone number without telling family members, a move many saw as a major turning point instead of something small. Reports also claimed his personality began shifting over time, not overnight, but in ways people started noticing. The way he reacted, the tone he used, even how he handled small frustrations started to feel different.
We landed in Canada, and one of our security guards who had been with H for so long, and these guys were so wonderful, I just collapsed in his arms crying. I was like, I tried so hard. He goes, I know you did. I know you did, ma'am. I know you.
Moments that once felt easygoing suddenly carried tension, and the relaxed, playful image people knew for years slowly turned into something more serious and guarded. Some might brush this off as exaggeration, but the author didn't rely on just one claim. Across more than 300 pages, he described what looked like a repeated pattern, not random moments. The same cycle. Kept showing up, distance first, influence second, then fallout, and when you line it all up, that phone number change didn't seem random anymore. A lot of people focus only on the brainwashed label because it grabs attention fast, but that was just the surface.
That's the whole issue, that they were globally, and they are globally known, but because of the way they behaved in the last 4 or 5 years, and as the price of betrayal, they are now, their reputation and their status and their fortunes are crumbling.
The deeper story pointed to gradual redirection, not sudden change, showing someone moving step by step onto a completely different path. The claims also said Harry pushed harder for independence from royal life, stepping further away from tradition. And this shift didn't stay public. It reportedly reached into private relationships too, with long-time connections weakening and communication breaking down.
Said Mr. Bauer's commentary has long crossed the line from criticism into fixation. This is someone who has publicly stated the monarchy in fact depends on actually obliterating the Sussexes from our state of life, language that speaks for itself,
leaving people confused by the sudden distance. Tension was also said to rise during a 2018 meeting at Kensington Palace. William and Catherine reportedly tried to step in before things escalated further, but it was claimed Meghan responded firmly, telling William to take his finger out of her face. That moment added another intense layer to an already heavy situation, and it didn't just come out of nowhere. Even before the engagement, William had reportedly warned Harry the relationship was moving too fast. According to the book, Catherine also had concerns, believing Meghan may have been focused on Harry's slim chances of becoming king.
She is a person who's done huge damage to the royal family, has been deeply, deeply inaccurate on many issues, and is of absolutely no value either to the royal family or society. But she just sucks from it, she takes from it and exploits it and profits.
Suddenly, what sounded like scattered opinions started forming a bigger picture tied to influence and direction shaping major decisions. One opinion could be bias, sure, but when multiple people from completely different backgrounds start describing similar patterns, it feels less random and more connected. Camilla, William, Catherine, along with a charity executive and a professional brand auditor, were all said to notice similar shifts, what experts call converging testimony, where separate observations begin to echo each other. And just when things already felt serious, the story took another sharp turn. What reportedly happened.
Meghan seems like she could be on the Sarah Ferguson path.
She always looks good. She always survives. You never see a moment of weakness in public. I mean, Meghan is a consummate survivor.
Inside, Harry's charity pushed this far beyond normal royal headlines into something much harder to ignore. In 2023, Dr. Sophie, a Zimbabwean-born corporate finance lawyer who received an MBE, stepped in as chair of the board for the charity Harry co-founded to support vulnerable communities. And that's where things start to get even deeper. This next part gets even heavier, and it starts shifting into territory most people didn't expect. Stay with this, because the details here start connecting in a bigger way. This charity wasn't just another project for Harry. It was something he once called deeply personal.
Comparison there, because Harry continues to back Meghan Markle, publicly back her and all of her terrible behavior, not to mention the fact that Johnny Depp has always been a bad boy film star rather than a royal trying to do good in
tied closely to his long-term purpose. So when Dr. Sophie stepped in, she didn't come with guesses or emotions. According to the claims, she came fully prepared with detailed research. During a fundraising flight from Singapore to Tokyo, reportedly funded by Japanese philanthropist A.A. Honda Shand, she presented Harry with a full brand audit. Mid-flight, and this wasn't small, it covered 50 organizations and donors, all centered around one big question. Did they still want to be publicly linked to Prince Harry? The reported results painted a rough picture. According to Bauer's account, Harry was told his personal brand value had dropped, especially among donors tied to media partnerships. Then came the line that spread fast. She reportedly said people don't want to be associated with your Netflix shows, and especially not with Meghan.
Across with the impression of a woman who is very intelligent, very determined, very ambitious, but also ruthless. And in the end, in her terms, success.
That statement hit hard because it wasn't framed as a one-off opinion. It suggested concerns were broader, crossing regions and audiences. The claims went further, saying Meghan's public recognition in the US and globally was seen as limited, and in some cases even complicated Harry's remaining partnerships. Harry's reaction, as described, said a lot without saying everything. Instead of pushing back with data or challenging the findings, he brought up Johnny Depp, pointing out how Depp kept public support even after a major legal battle with Amber Heard. In his view, bouncing back after public controversy seemed possible. But Chandaka's reported response didn't leave room for comfort. She made it clear public opinion moves fast, and what worked for someone else in a completely different situation doesn't always apply here.
Has a problem because he's lost his charity centre Bailey in Africa. He had better up, and all these commercial deals are declining. I think that his reputation is somewhat toxic, and I think Invictus is his only lifeline, and there'll be problems with that.
Then she pushed the point further, saying, "We need American corporates who want to be associated with your mission, not you personally." That alone shifted the focus. But what came next hit even harder. She reportedly added, "They don't want your victimhood." That wasn't casual advice. It came off like a direct reality check delivered mid-flight, where there's no easy way to step away from the conversation. Think about that moment for a second. A charity leader, chosen for her expertise, sitting face-to-face on a plane, explaining that public perception might be slipping and that brand image could affect funding. And Harry comparing it to a Hollywood comeback shows someone trying to make sense of a situation that's shifting fast.
Having somebody like Dr. Sophie Chandauka, who Harry and Meghan see as being beneath them, tell them, listen, we've done a brand audit and it's...
According to the claims, what stands out is that Harry didn't dismiss the audit right away. Bauer suggests he actually accepted the conclusions at first, which hints that the message may have landed more seriously than expected. Then came a move that seemed symbolic. In October 2024, Harry returned to Africa for the first time in 6 years. That decision carried weight, like a possible reset tied to something that once meant a lot to him. The timing, the setting, it all looked like an effort to reconnect and rebuild. But the direction didn't hold steady. The book claims that once Meghan became involved in the decision-making again, the path Harry seemed to be on shifted course. And that added another layer of tension to a situation already packed with pressure. Things reportedly grew even more intense when conversations turned toward control of the charity itself. The focus, according to the claims, moved away from the audit results and toward the fact that the audit even happened at all.
There's a major problem. And I think as of this week, the signal for her great problem is that she turned up at Kevin Costner's party for the emergency workers.
Which she skipped last year. She skipped that last year. That's a great...
That shift raised questions because now the debate wasn't just about outcomes. It was about whether the review process should have taken place in the first place. The reasoning presented suggested the audit caused psychological distress, turning the situation into something deeper than just numbers and reports. And by March 2025, the situation reached a major breaking point. Both Harry and co-founder Prince Seiso reportedly stepped away from the organization completely, with even more fallout still unfolding right after this. This final stretch really pulls everything together, and yeah, the fallout doesn't slow down from here.
Not in a million years did Meghan think that she was going to score Prince Harry. She thought she was going to score Andrew until Fergie put a stop.
If you've made it this far, stay locked in. This is where it all connects. That decision to step away marked a serious shift, especially from something once tied so closely to Harry's public identity. Later on, the Charity Commission for England and Wales reviewed the situation and by August 2025 cleared Harry of any widespread or systemic bullying claims.
Sussexes only will talk to people who repeat their own narrative.
Yes.
And who they can control. So the idea that you could get the truth from the Sussexes is...
But even with that outcome, the damage didn't just disappear. The situation had already shaken the organization, changing leadership dynamics and leaving its future direction looking uncertain. What once seemed stable suddenly felt unpredictable, and the pattern some people talked about wasn't just theory anymore. It was playing out in real time across different situations.
Meghan never really understood, probably not even now, is that when she was chaired as a working royal, it wasn't because she was Meghan Markle, it was because she represented British royalty and all the values of the Queen and all the tradition and the 1,000 years of history.
Then things escalated again, this time around the upcoming book. Meghan and Harry had the option to stay silent and let the story fade out naturally, which is a strategy often used to avoid adding more headlines. But that's not what reportedly happened. On March 14, 2026, nearly 2 weeks before the release, their spokesperson issued strong statements to major outlets like People, Newsweek, and GB News. The response was direct. They called Bauer's work a deranged conspiracy and melodrama, accusing him of crossing the line and building claims about people he doesn't personally know. But instead of shutting things down, that reaction pulled even more attention toward the book. And Bauer didn't hold back either. He responded through the Daily Express, claiming the Sussexes were running out of road in Hollywood and criticizing what he described as overwhelming self-importance. That back and forth added even more fuel to the situation, and people started watching even closer. Then the numbers came in, and they spoke loud. By March 15th, before any physical copies had even shipped, Betrayal had already hit #1 on Amazon's bestseller list. The response that seemed meant to quiet things actually pushed the story even higher. PR expert Renee Smith, founder of Aism, explained that the public reaction made the couple appear visibly shaken, not necessarily because every claim is true, but because some points felt close enough to what people already suspected. And when something lines up with existing curiosity, it spreads fast. One detail that stood out to many observers was this. The Sussexes didn't directly deny the specific claims one by one. There was no detailed pushback on the brand audit, the reported statements from Dr. Shaka, or the claims about distancing from certain relationships. Instead, most of the response focused on the author himself. That kind of move can shift attention away from the claims and toward the credibility of the person presenting them. Some commentators say this reflects a familiar pattern. When pressure builds, the spotlight turns toward the messenger instead of the message. That approach has come up in royal commentary before, especially during high-pressure moments where controlling the narrative becomes key. Then another layer got added. Biographer Ingrid Seward claimed Prince Philip once privately referred to Meghan as the Duchess of Windsor, a reference to Wallis Simpson. And once that comparison enters the conversation, people start drawing parallels. even across completely different eras. That reference points back to a time when an American woman entered the royal circle and long-standing traditions began to shift in noticeable ways. Biographer Sally Bedell Smith also noted that when someone new enters a long-established institution, it can reshape internal dynamics more than expected. And that's exactly why this story keeps pulling so much attention. Because it's not just about one moment, it's about a chain of events that keeps unfolding in ways people didn't see coming. We've reached the final part, and this is where everything tightens up. If you've been following this whole breakdown, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what comes next. Not everyone agrees with the Wallace-Simpson comparison, and that matters. Some historians argue Simpson actually tried to prevent major disruption, while Edward VIII remained the main decision-maker during that time. One interpretation even paints her as someone stuck in a difficult situation rather than controlling it. So while people love drawing parallels, there are clear differences. Bauer's angle doesn't rely on a direct comparison anyway. It focuses more on what he presents as a repeating sequence. A pattern where trusted voices slowly get cut off and the circle around someone becomes smaller and tighter over time. According to these claims, the real issue isn't one moment. It's how influence inside that smaller circle grows stronger as outside voices fade away. Bauer suggests the evidence he gathered follows this exact path step by step, with several senior figures believing they were watching a familiar pattern unfold again. Then comes the future, and this is where things get even more tense. The book claims Harry is concerned that Prince William, as the future king, could one day remove the Sussex titles entirely. Bauer frames the concern as something deeper than paranoia tied to the complicated relationship between the brothers. William hasn't spoken publicly about any of this, but insiders claim the relationship is fractured beyond repair, and one moment says it all. August 2024, at the funeral of Lord Robert Fellows, both brothers were there, in the same place, yet they didn't speak, didn't sit together, didn't even acknowledge each other. That silence carried serious weight. Royal expert Ian Pelham Turner was asked if William would ever welcome Harry back, and his answer was blunt, a big fat royal no. That response didn't come out of nowhere. It builds on years of public moments, reports, and small details that anyone can trace. When you line everything up, Camilla's early warnings, the distancing from longtime friends, the tense Kensington Palace moment, the Chand Dhaka audit, the charity fallout, the strong reaction to the book, even the Wallace comparison, it stops looking like random drama. It starts forming a structure, something that feels repeated rather than accidental. And here's the part people keep circling back to. This may not just be about family tension, it's also about control behind the scenes. When you look at the timeline, key moments don't feel random. Each move seems to trigger the next, creating a chain reaction that keeps building. The media strategy plays a role too. Big interviews, documentaries, public statements, they all land with impact. The Oprah interview reportedly shifted public perception overnight, and the Netflix series pulled things even further into the spotlight. But instead of repairing relationships, each move seemed to widen the gap, especially with the royal family. That distance didn't stay hidden. It showed up in silence, in missed events, in moments where both sides stopped acknowledging each other completely. And that kind of gap doesn't just appear. Overnight, it builds step by step until there's no easy way back. Then there's identity. Harry spent most of his life inside a system with clear roles, rules, and structure. Stepping away wasn't just leaving a position, it meant rebuilding an entire identity in a completely different world. And that's not simple, especially with constant public attention watching every move. Every deal, every appearance, every partnership carries pressure, not just to succeed, but to prove the decision to step away was the right one. And when focus shifts toward big moments and big reactions, it keeps attention high, but doesn't always build long-term stability behind the scenes. Which brings everything back to one question: who's really steering the direction here? When the same patterns keep showing up, distance from old connections, strong responses to criticism, decisions that deepen the divide, it starts to feel less like coincidence and more like a cycle repeating itself. What makes this harder to ignore is that these claims don't come from one place. They come from different people, different roles, different moments, all pointing toward a similar narrative. And each time someone speaks out, the attention shifts quickly, from the claims themselves to the person making them. That shift changes everything. It redirects focus away from the details and onto credibility, motives, and intent. And at that point, the conversation isn't just about what happened, it's about who people choose to believe. So now the question isn't just whether any single claim is right or wrong, it's about the bigger picture. What's being said? what's being left out, and why this story keeps holding attention without fading. If you've got thoughts on this, drop them in the comments and say what stands out to you. And if you want more deep dives like this, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next.